There was something special about the home where Lois lived. It wasn't wealth or possessions, but a quiet atmosphere of reverence and hope. Her faith wasn't emotional or momentary. It was solid, forged over years through the stories of the patriarchs, the ancient songs, and the promises of a faithful God. Lois grew up in a Jewish community surrounded by Greek culture. The values around her often clashed with what she believed, yet she remained steadfast, nourishing her soul with the scriptures and preserving in her heart the teachings of the prophets. Living as a godly woman in an environment that didn't honor Israel's God was not easy, but Lois carried a serenity that came from within. Her daughter Eunice grew up observing every gesture of her mother. Lois' eyes sparkled when she spoke of Abraham's promises. Her prayers revealed a sincerity that shaped her daughter's understanding of God. Eunice learned faith not from doctrines alone, but from her mother's example, from hearing her prayers at night, and from watching her generosity with neighbors. Faith was not merely knowledge. It was a presence, visible, constant, quiet. The seed planted in Eunice remained, even when the world around her changed and new voices tried to lead her down other paths. Lois continued nurturing her daughter's heart with patience and hope. Time passed, and Eunice became a young woman. She carried tenderness and firmness, the fruits of what she had received at home. But life brought challenges, and one of them came through love. Eunice fell in love with a Greek man, culturally and spiritually different from her. He did not share her faith. Still, she chose to marry him. Many judged her decision. But Lois, instead of condemning, offered support. Her presence, her prayers, her trust that God was still leading their story. Eunice did not abandon her faith in marriage. She clung to it even more. Her home became a place where two worlds coexisted, and she needed wisdom to keep alive the spark she had received from her mother. Even amid pagan customs and cultural tensions, she remained firm. She couldn't change her husband's heart, but she could shape her home with love and prayer. When her first child was born, Eunice understood her new mission, to pass on to him everything she had received from Lois. The baby cried, and the small house was filled with new hope. Timothy had arrived. For Lois and Eunice, he was more than a child. He was a promise. From his earliest days, Timothy grew in an environment shaped by faith. Lois sang ancient songs while holding him, while Eunice whispered blessings over him at night. His father, though present, did not share their beliefs. But that didn't dim Eunice's determination. Lois became even more active, teaching Timothy with gentle stories of courage and redemption. The boy grew surrounded by love, scripture, and quiet faith. As Timothy entered childhood, Eunice used the simplest moments, meals, walks, bedtime, to teach him about God. Lois walked through the streets with him, telling him about Abraham, the covenant, and the prophets. Prayer became a natural part of his life. Timothy learned to speak with God as one speaks with someone close. The home had few material riches, but abundant wisdom. As he entered adolescence, Timothy's faith began to be tested. While other youths sought distractions, he sought scriptures. He asked questions, listened to the elders, and reflected deeply. Eunice and Lois watched with joy as the seeds they had planted began to bear fruit. His devotion became known in the community. His humility and wisdom earned respect. Then came the day that would change his life. Paul arrived in Lystra. His preaching shook the city. Some opposed him, others admired him. Timothy felt something awaken inside him. When he heard Paul speak, all the teachings of his childhood blossomed at once. Paul noticed the young man, heard from the community about his character, and decided to meet him. In their conversation, Paul discerned sincerity, humility, and a heart ready for God's work. Soon came the invitation, "Come with me." Timothy accepted without hesitation. Lois and Eunice held back tears, entrusting him to God. Traveling with Paul was difficult. The roads were dangerous, cities hostile, nights long. But Timothy absorbed everything with humility. Paul treated him as a spiritual son. Timothy assisted, learned, taught, and encouraged believers. His youth became strength rather than weakness. In Paul's letters, Timothy's name began to appear as a trusted partner. Timothy led communities, corrected errors, and offered comfort with gentleness and firmness. Yet even far from home, he never forgot his roots. Lois's prayers and Eunice's guidance continued shaping him. Years passed. Timothy became a respected leader, facing challenges such as false teachings, persecution, and internal conflicts. When discouragement threatened him, he remembered his mother and grandmother, their faith, their example, their prayers. What sustained him was not force, but constancy. Paul, near the end of his life, wrote tenderly to Timothy. In one letter, he mentioned Lois and Eunice by name. They had never traveled on missions or preached publicly, but they had shaped the heart of a man who was changing the world. Their faith was genuine, and Paul honored them. Timothy must have read Paul's words with emotion, remembering his childhood, the prayers, the stories. Lois and Eunice's legacy lived on not only in him but in every church he served. Their contribution was eternal. Lois represents steadfast wisdom in a culture contrary to faith. Eunice embodies courage in living out her beliefs even within a difficult marriage. Together they show the power of faith practiced at home. Their story challenges parents, grandparents, and all believers. What seeds are we planting? Are we forming consumers or disciples? Their example teaches us. Faith lived daily through love, prayer, and perseverance can transform generations.